What is going on, everyone? Tis Miyanovich, and I welcome you to the main dojo, the place where we process the raw struggles of men in an unprecedented paradigm. There is something inside of you that wants you to be more than what you are. But there also may be something inside of you that wants you to go down. And for some of us, that means going down for good. So, remove your ego, drop your bullshit, become vulnerable, and step into the dojo, mate.
Well, I've kind of done like a full circle, because now that I've done with my clinic work and I'm just working from home and I'm just doing everything from my office here. I've gone back in and I met a guy out in through Facebook, who's a producer out in New Jersey, and he's done several projects, and he just wrote, filmed, directed, produced a film of his own, and it's coming out probably this summer would be my guess. American Dreams. Okay. And it is a kind of a flashback into back when we used to ride our bikes and hang out with our buddies and go play like baseball in an empty lot, hang out and just do nothing but go down and hang out at the creek and throw rocks and be in that kind of an idyllic kind of life. But my point was that we spoke years ago, and he had done a redo of Vision Quest. He was going to do a Vision Quest 2 years ago, and then there was a writer's strike, so that disappeared. And then Lautner tried it, and that disappeared. And the guy from that was in the vampire movie that was shot up in Canada, Twilight. So he was in Twilight. That didn't work out for him. So we were talking about what is the best way to present a new version. And we came up with the concept of we want to do a scripted series. And so we're going to do very much like Cobra Kai, 30 years later, what happened? Why did she lose? What happened to Linda Fiorentino's character? What happened to Matthew? What did he wrestle, continue? Did he just become a doctor? Where are they 30 years later? And so we've written a great pilot and a whole season of episodes, and we presented that. We've gotten some really good feedback. The only thing that's hanging us up at this point is getting the intellectual property from Warner Brothers, who own intellectual property. So I've worked with him over 3-4 years ago, and then I've got other projects in different stages of development. So I'm kind of coming back in. I worked with a company, a little project in Washington. This guy was shooting an independent film called Westbrook. And so I was working with the director, Gregory Marks, and I helped kind of get some of the clothes and some of the stuff from Adidas, and I was helping to talk, we talked about different things. And so I got to be an executive producer support and for that project. So I'm working on both sides at this point and looking to do more little cameos in different projects. So I'm kind of doing a full circle. It's just something that I think would be really fun for me to do. I would love to do more projects that do exactly what Vision Quest did, is to inspire people to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah. What, before I forget, how heavy was the log? The actual log, how heavy was it?
So the log was lightened, and to some degree, I never weighed it. So it was just under 100 pounds. And the most difficult thing is that when you get something behind your neck and you're trying to lean forward and you got this log, it was trouble to kind of move around. But once you got it balanced, you were pretty good, but you're still leaning forward and you got this, behind your neck, and you're trying to hold on to it. And that was the hardest part. The weight wasn't a big issue. I actually carried a log at the NCAAs this year on March 19th. And we did a kind of we redid the scene, and we had these young kids do the scene with me that played Matthew's role and Michael Schofling's role. And so I carried the log in on my shoulders. It was a real log that they found in some yard out there in New Jersey. And then we auctioned off the poster that they made of me carrying the log, which was 2 feet by 3 feet. So again, it's just about getting it balanced. But that one was close to 100 pounds, and I just turned 66 this year. So
yeah, you don't look it, dude. You don't look 66. I wouldn't expect that shoot would look 66 at 66. What happened to the original log? Do you know where it is?
No idea. I have no idea where it went. I've done this thing where I carried a log in at another event, and it was this guy named Corey created this log. He does all the shoot logs. And so he'll find logs, he'll hand scrape the bark off, he'll sand it, he'll plug on any holes up, he'll shellac it, and then he'll wrap rope around each end so you have something to hold on to kind of on each end. They flew that out to LA. I carried it in, they auctioned it off. Randy Couture bought it. Nice. He got the highest bid. And so all that money went to USA Wrestling. So cool. Randy Couture, very cool cat. He's into, helping wrestling, and that's what we need. We need more people that have been there, been through it, benefited from it, want to come back and help support it.
If you got this series, right, like that ended up like Cobra Kai, would you get a little bit more jacked to be a little bit more shoot like, even at your age? Would you put on some muscle to kind of fill out the shirts?
Oh, absolutely. Like right now, I'm just trying to maintain, it's just like, okay. So we're maintaining.
Sure.
It's like, but I play tennis, right? So I'm a tennis player, and I still run around for 2-3 hours on Saturday playing tennis. And it's a lot of, meat to carry around on the court. So I've kind of leaned out a bit, and yes, I would be absolutely motivated to jack up a little bit, be the 66-year-old shoot with some muscles.
Do you think you've embraced that your shoot, like you are at your shoot? Like, do you think you've embraced that fully? It's like it's 40 years ago, and it's almost as if I'm looking back at another lifetime, and almost like I can be, objective. I'm watching somebody do this, this role, this movie, and I can talk about shoot, like he's that guy. And so it's so interesting because, like I said, when I did shoot, I'd been 28 years of creating a warrior. And then the time that followed was 28 years, 20, 30 years of becoming a energy worker healer and finding more balance in my life. So he's in there. I can bring him out if I need to, but walking around being shoot, I think is ridiculous. That's a lot of energy, dude. It would be a lot of energy.
And I got to flex my arms out and bump people as I walk by or something, I guess.
It's probably kind of cool that you have to look into you to see shoot, right? Yeah. You can walk down the street and legit be an iconic figure in an iconic sports movie, but still have your anonymity and be a normal guy. That's great.
Some of those actresses, I get that it's just like enough already. I think there should be boundaries set to where, we don't end up with another death on our hand because the paparazzi were trying to snap a picture of somebody driving. It's like, this is ridiculous. And then you got the family with the kids, and it's like, we need to have something created where, if they're at an event, they're there to do work. If they're with their kids and they're, going to school, and we need to give them their space to be human beings. And I remember like first time I was in LA and I was down on, where is it? It was on the Strand down in Venice Beach. And that's usually like Star Wars bar scene. Like you see all these just amazing examples of humanness being, experienced in all these different ways. And I saw these three guys walking, and there's just a crowd of people kind of pushing up behind them. And I realized it was Magic Johnson, and it was a Kobe. It was a couple of the Lakers, and I realized these guys, they can't go anywhere, and they're just like bombarded.
Yeah.
And you get used to that, I guess, but then you also then have to kind of like be careful, like, well, can I go here without just complete insanity, or can I just have a quiet time? And so, I'm lucky that I have that, and I feel for the people that struggle, that are, inundated with that I think needs to be changed. So it's, we need to kind of like figure that out with these celebrities, like how to approach them and not.
Did you get mobbed at the NCAAs a little bit? People push up and like want to get your autograph and things like that?
The wrestling community is so tight, and they're most of the time they're very like, oh, I don't want to bother him. Like, oh, I saw him and there's a bunch of people around. I don't want to bother him. And there are a few, usually when they've had a few too many, then they get a little nuts. Like, hey, shoot, come on, I get those, and I just kind of like, God bless them. I was there. I did that, like I can't judge, So I'm happy to be on the other side. I really don't drink. And I'm glad, you said you don't drink at all.
Yeah.
I've really limited to like very specific occasions to enjoy some wine with a paired, steak or some kind of a fish, salmon or something. But it's like I have a lot more fun just being, sober, clear, and having a good time, and, talking to somebody that's like, this guy knows about Reiki and Qigong and Tai Chi, and these are really cool topics to kind of go down that rabbit hole. And there's not a lot of people that know that you can have an extraordinary experience by doing Qigong. It can completely heal your body. It can bring you out of like death's door. There's, some of my instructors were like, I was so sick, I couldn't even walk 3 steps, but I just kept doing my Qigong. I'd show up every day and I would take 2 or 3 more steps. He was doing his walking Qigong. He was doing his hands in this position, but walking, or he would stand just in a static position and do simple movements to move Qi through his body, keep his body activated. And he got to the point where he became a Qigong instructor, but at one point he was on death's door. So you see that this is a profound, subtle art that has, this very incredible response in the system of your, meridians, pathways. Like when I taught Qigong to this one guy, he was an instructor at this place in Los Angeles, that they were very progressive. And so we did this day where we were sharing different things at this event, and I shared Qigong, which, how many kids in grade school get exposed to Qigong? There was some real interest in it. So they sent their PE instructor, which was this he was like this, was a black guy who had been in gangs in the inner city, but he had found his way out. And he was a good guy, and he was doing the right things and having the right impact on these kids, but he had that background. So he comes from that real tough, background. And the second or third day we were doing Qigong, and we were just like, it's the slowest little movement that you're doing. And all of a sudden he just started pouring sweat, just started pouring down his face. And he was like, oh, so much goes on in the slowest movements possible. All your pathways open up, all your pores open up, you detox, you release, you bring into balance, you find where things are blocked. It's an extraordinary experience. So I just want to encourage your listeners to get out there, practice, have that experience.
I will tell people all the time that Tai Chi and Qigong saved my bacon for sure. Like I did end up having 2 knee surgeries, one on each knee and a surgery on my low back from sports. I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'4".
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what we determined was probably from the birthing process, I have probably a paralyzed or semi-paralyzed nerve in the cervical spine. So the electrical service down the right side of my body is not full. So, and my response times lag.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll go to step and think I'm stepping and I kind
not
of
making
don't.
the connection, not firing.
That you take that. I didn't know that was the case. So you take that into sports, you take that into basketball and football and baseball. And so I had all kinds of imbalances and ended up having 2 knee surgeries and a low back surgery. So in standard physical therapy for 7 years straight because of these things, I gained more in the first 6 months of Tai Chi and Qigong than 7 years in a PT program it was that transformative for balance, body, knee pain, back pain, completely changed everything. And that's why I got so into it. I was like, holy shit, this works.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate for it. Like I tell people if they're struggling with their health or whatever, I say, man, you got to get into Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, and it may have it be a basis for living because it will give you so much control over your health.
Well, and it's like doing body work on yourself. And so you're moving energy through where things are blocked. And you just keep pushing that through those meridians, and pretty soon that will release. And now you have health. Now you have function. Now you have circulation. And it's an extraordinary, powerful. There are things that I have experienced, and I don't want to go into it because we're right at the end here. But I've experienced long distance experiences of having Qigong and having patients being healed from Qigong from long distances as well. It's that incredible. So, play around with it. Just like one of my instructors was Roger Junkie from Santa Barbara. And I used to go to these, I studied with this one guy from China, barely could speak any English, if at all. And it's Yuan Ming Zhang. And this guy studied with the ascetics in the mountains, and somebody had gifted him this castle in the mountains in China, and he would come and he would wear, like Kwai Chang Kang, the outfit that he would like, the little silk outfit that he would wear. Yeah. He would wear that with these Chinese boots, and he would walk around the town, with his little Qigong walk, and people would just look at him, and it was just like unbelievable. But this guy was incredible. And what an experience, to have this guy that can barely speak come and teach. I studied with him one time for 3 days straight up a Mount Baldy. So all we did was get up, study, do movements, have breakfast, movements, have lunch, movements, have dinner, movements, go to bed. And when I would lay in bed at night, my body was just like vibrating by the end of the night. And I was like a full, and that's just doing 3 days of Qigong only, incredible.
My in-laws live in San Dimas, and we have friends all up like the coast of California and up into Oregon, right? So it's always a plan of ours to go out and visit the in-laws and drive up the coast. We've done it before. If I do that, then I want to come and take some Qigong with you, man. I would love to. I would love to do it.
We'll go someplace and you'll exchange. I'll share. And so one of the things I was headed down that road, and I did a little U-turn here. I mentioned Roger Jonke, and one of the beautiful things that he said, and he's been an instructor for years and years and years in Santa Barbara, was that he got it in my mind that it's all an exploration, because a lot of the old masters are like, you can only do your microcurrent, down the Ren channel, up the Do channel, up the Do channel, down the Ren channel. And that's the only way to do it. And the other one would come in and say, you must do your micro orbit up the Ren channel and down the Do channel. So you get somebody that's like, this is the only way to do it. And Roger Jonke came in here and he goes, okay, we're going to go up. We're going to bring it up the Ren channel. We're going to take it down the Do channel. And we're going to get into just how that feels. And we're going to breathe into that flow, and then we're going to reverse it. And now we're going to experience that.
Yeah.
And then I want you to go like, oh, what does my body need? Do I need to do the movement reverse this direction, or do I need to do the movement this direction?
Yeah.
And so he says, explore and those dynamics and just do what your body, and this where he said, tune in to your energy. And so he started to teach us, like, you're given these guidelines, like you're going to do this movement for the micro orbit, but then you're going to learn to have that sensitivity that is driven from that.
Yeah.
So that you now can feel like, oh, I need to move gently over here because there's a piece of me over here that I didn't get that I need to deal with. Now I'm going to bring it into the lower. Now I'm going to slide over into here. I'm starting to follow the flow. So he's teaching you just to tap into that sensitivity to the energy. Now follow that flow.
Yeah.
All those things that you've been taught, movements.
Yeah. It becomes an organic expression instead of like a
Nothing's
dogmatic.
Wrong. I mean, you can do things wrong, but he's saying, like, don't be just locked into like, this is the only way to do it, or this is
totally. Can I ask you one more question before I let you go for today? Cause I don't want to scramble your brains with too much talking. Okay. So it would be a short one. So I saw a picture of you with Matthew Modine. I don't know, it might have been like 10 years ago, where you guys are at a wrestling tournament and you're sitting on the mat together. What was that? Where was that? Was that the first time you had seen him since the movie? What was that like?
Yes. Exactly. That was for Beat the Streets in New York. It was the Russian national team wrestled the American national team in Libby Square in New York. They created a platform to put the wrestling mats on, and then they put the little benches and everything around it. And Matthew and I got to sit on the edge of the mat. And that was the first time that I had actually seen Matthew since Vision Quest was released.
Wow.
And that was, I want to say, like you said, it was probably 10 to 12 years ago, I want to say.
Did they arrange it so you guys were both going to be there?
Yes. A gentleman that was a wrestler, his name is Mike. He flew me out there, and he was good friends with Matthew because they both had seats at the basketball team that was local, their professional team. And so he would see Matthew there all the time. And so, Mike brought me out and took care of me and brought Matthew there. And so that was really kind of special.
Yeah. Was it emotional? Were you like overwhelmed a little bit? I mean, that's powerful.
It was great to see Matthew. He's always a good guy. He's still with the same woman that when we did Vision Quest, Carrie, and they've had kids, and he's had a great career. Yeah. Just saw him in something recently. I want to say it was like Oppenheimer, where he played a small role in that.
Yeah.
And he's done, the other things.
Stranger Things. We watched Stranger Things.
Huge, but he's had other projects that he's involved in, and he's very good, and amazing. He's still doing his thing, and so I haven't seen him. Like, I was hoping to connect with him on the 40th anniversary because he did a thing in Spokane, and unfortunately I couldn't be a part of that. And then he did something in New York, and then I went and did something out in Poughkeepsie for the 40th anniversary. And I'll be doing different events throughout the year. I'll be in Birmingham, Alabama in June, mid-June or July. I'll be in Canada for this Masters wrestling event in beginning of August, and I'll be out in South Carolina on the 17th to wrestle. They're doing a wrestling event on the deck of one of the warships. So that's the 17th of November, and it'll be out in South Carolina.
Okay, because I am outside of Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, get out!
Yeah, dude, that's where I live.
Friend that just moved to Asheville, and when we get off here, I'll put a connection. We'll put you together. Love for you guys to meet anyway.
Yeah, and if so, I'm assuming that South Carolina thing is like on the coast, probably in Charleston.
Charlotte. I think it's in Charlotte.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure we stay in touch, because if you're going to go, I want to come and take you out to dinner and like hang out. If you're cool with it, or we could even do Qigong there. That's the cool thing about Qigong. You could carry it with you. Yeah. So definitely let's stay in touch, because I would love to come to the event. And if it's open to the public.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to.
It will be, and I'm headed back out in October. I'll be out there, I guess, as well, because we're going to do that Comic-Con again in the Chiller Theater in Parsippany in New Jersey. So that's in October. I think it's the 2 weeks before Halloween. So that'll be that weekend. So I just remembered that one, and I'm always just kind of just open to make things like this happen. So thank you for reaching out to me. I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, I hope that we can stay in touch, especially on the in the Qigong world, because you've done it for your whole life. I've done it my whole life, and I don't have enough homeboys.
Yeah.
That do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to let you go, Frank. I don't want to hold you anymore. I know you got important shoot things to do. I'm going to go on the website and order one of the posters and a shirt too.
Okay.
So, and should I just remind you through email, like, hey, dude, sign this one for me? Or
no, you can
handle.
In there, it says buyer can put in an instruction. So I will sign that. I will autograph that for you. And if you want to be personalized, then you need to let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to sign it and put my, Frank Jasper, and I'll put you.
Okay, I will definitely do that.